Depression and Anxiety Group in association with Heinrich Boell, Section 27, and the Life Esidimeni Family Committee will launch the Life Esidimeni Portraits of Lives Lost book today. That's the Nelson Mandela Foundation in Houghton. The book will honor the lives of those more than 100 patients who tragically died in the Life Esidimeni scandal. For more on this now, let's chat to one of the authors of the book, Harriet Perlman, as well as a committee member of the Life Esidimeni Family Committee. Of course, you recall that committee was put together to ensure that there was justice in this matter. Christine Nxumalo, to you both ladies, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Sis Christine, I think I want to start with you this morning. Obviously, the last time we spoke had been when there had been the judgment recently pertaining to who should be held criminally liable for the deaths of more than 100 mental health care users, that was including your sister who passed away. And definitely the wounds have not yet closed. But it's very important to have this book so that no one ever forgets what really happened.
Yeah, the judgment was very, what's the word? Bittersweet. I think that's the word. Because we had been waiting for 8 years. This year was officially the 8th year that my sister passed away. So this for us is a memory of who they were. And the fact that they are not just numbers, yes. You know. So for us, this is a very important stone, especially following the judgment.
Yeah. And Harriet, perhaps let me bring you in there. You know, being the author of this book, Life Esidimeni Portraits of Lives Lost, obviously, you know, how did you approach, you know, the sensitive task of having to tell these stories in particular, because the families, and understandably so, are still waiting for justice. They want someone to be held liable for what has happened. So we can't say anytime soon that you'll have the wounds of these families closed. So you obviously had to thread very carefully in telling these stories.
You know, I think the first thing is that we visited families and spent time with them in their homes. And I think what was really important for us is the story of Life Esidimeni, the tragedy. Everyone knows the horror of how people died, which is an unimaginable loss for these families. But few people know the stories of how they lived. And so we really wanted to understand the lives of those, one who had been killed, but also the lives of the families who loved them and spent time with them and shared very precious memories. So, of course, it was always mixed, this unimaginable loss that still was there, but joyous memories, memories of how they shared lives together. So I think that is very much how we approached it. And I think just a third thing is what was very important for us was there was this outrageous claim that families didn't care because they didn't visit. And when you get to go to people's homes and understand their lives and how far people were moved, yes. The claim is just simply outrageous. Yeah. And wasn't true at all. So we got to experience and see that.
Sis Christine, obviously, you know, as family members, in particular, I guess you in this instance, what was your contribution to the book? And I know you've always spoken very passionately about, you know, your sister and, you know, the multiple losses that you suffered even after the passing of your sister. Because obviously, you know, some of your family members, you know, also lost their lives. Could not take the pain of what had taken place. Talk us through your contribution to this particular book. And I'm glad to hear from Harriet that it's also about, you know, the joyous moments that were spent, because we didn't hear much of that, I guess, in the face of all the tragedy and grief that needed to be dealt with at the time.
Griselda, my story is actually quite a strange one because I got to even become a family committee member was because for some reason I interviewed every single family member who came forward when we were putting together the list of family members, of the deceased. I got to speak to a majority of the family members, so I knew the stories.
Yes.
And I think that's where Harriet and Mark and the rest of the team thought that, maybe we should document the story. And that's how I think the whole journey really began, is Harriet finding the time and actually driving all the way and scheduling the interviews to have those of the families who were keen to tell their stories, because some of them just did not want to relive the memory. Some of them did not even want to go down that route. Yeah. So it was a very painful process, but it had to be done. For those who wanted, it had to be done. So so that's, I think the contribution is being in, I suppose, the common thread throughout the whole process, but it would not have happened without Harriet and Mark having the time and age and to actually listen and having the patience and understanding, because I think this needed a lot of that.
Yeah. Indeed, Harriet.
Well, let me say it wouldn't have happened without Christine.
No, certainly. I really believe so. The both of you, I think you're quite a powerful force to come together to really tell the story and ensure that, South Africans never forget about what, really happened. And, Harriet, I think the broader discussion here, and I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the reasons possibly why this book was why you started with this book is perhaps to stimulate discussion and perhaps contribute to the broader discussion on mental health care reform and accountability within South Africa's healthcare system, because there is simply no way this can ever happen again. And surely somebody needs to be held to account for this. It simply cannot be swept under the carpet.
Sorry I interrupted, but when I said the book also couldn't have happened without Christine, I'm not only talking about all her logistical help in getting to where we needed to go, but this story is also a story of the fight back. And that needs to be told, that everyone does say government needs to be accountable. But what does that mean? Actually, it means long, arduous, endless years and years of fighting and standing together and offering support. And I think that's also a very important story that forms part of this book. How did they do that? The NGOs like Section 27 and SADAG, Christine and the other family committee members, and the individual families who just held each other.
Says Christine, it's been a long wait, and as families, you're not yet there. We now wait for the prosecutorial authority to decide whether they will pursue any of these charges against, amongst others, the then Health MEC Katani Mahlangu and others like Dr. Magabo Manamela. You obviously do not want to wait any longer, even though the prosecutorial authority needs to apply its mind. You simply cannot wait any longer for this issue to come to a close.
Griselda, we've waited 8 years just to get to this point, and we pray to God that it doesn't go to even a year, hopefully not even 6 months, because at least this time we have got the High Court supporting this. It means that what we were telling or what we've been saying all along indeed did happen. And I think also just the reason for the book is to dispel, like Harriet was saying, dispel the untruths.
Yes.
I think throughout this process, especially throughout the arbitration process, we kept being thrown at you, but you didn't love your loved ones. You didn't care for them. The state was looking after them. If only they understood each journey, and I think this is what we were trying to tell with the book, each journey that each family member took, because for you to get into a Life Esidimeni facility, was a process that could take up to years. So it was not an easy process, but indeed it was the best option to get your loved one in. And those are the untruths that we were hoping to dispel with this book as well. So yes, we're hoping not to wait any longer, Griselda. In fact, after the judgment, we were hoping the very next day the NPA would say, okay, let's go. But obviously that's not how it works. But we're hoping this time, with the High Court behind us, that we don't wait, hopefully not even 6 months.
Ladies, thank you so much. I wish we could engage a bit further, but certainly this is definitely one to get your hands on. You know, I'm sure it will delve much deeper, Harriet, into, what we don't know about how the families lived, how they had to contend with this kind of loss. Because I guess very much so, our reportage, as one of the reporters that had covered the story for years, the reportage was very much focused on, what was happening on a day-to-day basis. So congratulations to you both for, I guess, delving deeper into getting an understanding of exactly what the families went through. Sis Christine, it's always a great pleasure also speaking to you. Thank you very much indeed. Christine Nxumalo, who's Life Esidimeni Family Committee member, as well as Harriet Perlman, who's one of the book authors. And that book, of course, is being launched today. All of the best regarding that, of course. Looking back to the Life Esidimeni tragedy, we'll certainly get a sense from that book, delving deeper into the issues there. Thank you very much indeed to you both.